Good morning students. Today we are going to start new chapter related to the unit Plant Physiology, chapter number 11, Transport in Plants. In this chapter we are going to discuss the following contents: means of transport, plant water relation, long distance transport of water, transpiration, uptake and transport of mineral nutrients, phloem transport. Have you ever wondered how water reaches the top of all tall trees, or for what matter, how and why substances move from one cell to another? Whether all substances move in a similar way in the same direction, and whether metabolic energy is required or not. Plants need to move molecules for very long distance, much more than animals do. They also do not have a circulatory system in place. Water taken up by the roots has to reach all the parts of the plant up to the very tip of the growing stem. That's true. चाहे कितनी भी हाइट हो प्लांट की, उसके हर एक कॉर्नर तक वाटर और मिनरल्स पहुंचाना बहुत ज़रूरी है. The all parts including the root tips embedded deep inside the soil, movement across short distances, say within the cell, across the membrane, or from cell to cell within the tissue, has also to take place to understand some of the transport processes that take place in plants. One would have to recollect one's basic knowledge about the structure of the cell and the anatomy of the plant body that we have already studied in the earlier chapter. We also need to revisit our understanding of diffusion that also we have studied in earlier standards, besides gaining some knowledge about chemical potential and ions. When we talk of the movement of substances, we need first to define what kind of movement we are talking about and also what substances we are looking at. In a flowering plant, the substances that would need to be transported are, this you have to mark: water, mineral nutrients, organic nutrients, and plant growth regulators. Over small distances, substances move by diffusion and by cytoplasmic streaming, supplemented by active transport. Transport over longer distances proceed through the vascular system, that is xylem and phloem, and it is known as translocation. So if we transport over long distance through xylem and phloem, then it is known as translocation, because location is changed. So trans means change, location. An important aspect that needs to be considered is the direction of the transport. In rooted plants, transport in xylem, that is of water and mineral, is essentially unidirectional, that is from roots to the stems and other parts. Organic and mineral nutrients, however, undergo multidirectional transport, that is from stem, leaf to plants, plant parts, or roots to leaf, leaf to root, all the directions. Organic compounds synthesized in the photosynthetic leaves are exported to all other parts of the plant, including storage organs. From the storage organs, they are later re-exported, and the mineral nutrients are taken up by the roots and transported upwards to the stem, leaves, and growing region. When any plant part undergoes senescence, nutrients may be withdrawn from such region and move to the growing parts. Hormones or plant growth regulators and other chemical signals are also transported, though in very small amounts, sometimes in a strictly polarized unidirectional manner from where they are synthesized to other parts. Hence, in flowering plant there is a complex traffic of compounds, but it is very orderly, moving in different directions, each organ receiving some substances and giving out some others. Means of transport. The very first process is diffusion. Movement by diffusion is passive and may be from one part of the cell to other. Passive means no energy is required. कहाँ कहाँ? So one part of the cell to other, from one cell to other, or for short distances. Say from intercellular spaces of the leaf to the outside. No energy expenditure takes place. In diffusion, molecules move in random fashion, the net result being substances moving from region of higher concentration to region of lower concentration. Diffusion is a slow process and is not dependent on living system. Keep in mind, in non-living system also diffusion can occur. That is, the gas diffuses in the atmosphere. Diffusion is obvious in gases and liquid, but diffusion in solid is more likely rather than of solids. Diffusion is very important to plant since it is the only means of gaseous movement within the plant body. Diffusion rates are affected by gradient of concentration, the permeability of the membrane separating them. Permeability means if the membrane allows it or not, temperature and pressure. So these are the factors that affect the diffusion rate. Okay, so these four factors you have to learn as a factor affecting diffusion rates. Second method is facilitated diffusion. As pointed out earlier, a gradient must already be present for diffusion to occur. The diffusion rate depends on the size of substance also. So obviously, smaller substance diffuse faster. The diffusion of any substance across the membrane depends on its solubility in lipid, because membrane is made up of lipid, the major constituent of the membrane. Substances soluble in lipid diffuse through the membrane faster. Substances that have hydrophilic moiety find it difficult to pass through the membrane, because membrane does not allow, because it is hydrophobic and the substances are hydrophilic. So the behavior, the nature of the chemical do not match. Their movement has to be facilitated. उन्हें कुछ facility provide करनी पड़ेगी. So membrane protein provide sites at which such molecules cross the membrane. They do not set up a concentration gradient. A concentration gradient must already be present for molecules to diffuse, even if they are facilitated by the proteins. So protein के through हो या directly हो, concentration gradient is must. Concentration gradient मतलब जहाँ भी diffusion होना है वहाँ सिस्टम 1 और सिस्टम 2 के बीच में उस पर्टिकुलर मॉलिक्यूल का कंसंट्रेशन अलग अलग होना चाहिए. अगर वो प्रोटीन की मदद से हो तो दिस इज प्रोसेस इज नोन एज फैसिलिटेटेड डिफ्यूजन. In facilitated diffusion, special protein help move substances across membrane without expenditure of energy in form of ATP. Facilitated diffusion cannot cause net transport of molecules from low to high concentration. This would require input of energy. तो हम हाई टू लो ले जा सकते हैं लेकिन लो टू हाई नहीं. अगर ऐसा करना है तो हमें एनर्जी चाहिए. So transport rate reaches the maximum when all protein transporters are used. The condition is called saturated. Here we can see how the facilitated diffusion takes place. Outer side there are so many molecules and inner side no molecules are there. So the membrane protein will help the molecule to cross the membrane because the molecule is hydrophilic in nature and membrane is hydrophobic. So in such circumstances we require these membrane proteins for the transport of such molecules across the membrane. Facilitated diffusion is very specific. It allows cell to select substance for uptake. It is sensitive to inhibitors which react with the protein side chain. Inhibitors जो हमेशा किसी भी reaction को stop करते हैं. The protein from channels in the membrane for molecules to pass through. Some channels are always open, others can be controlled. Some are large, allowing variety of molecules to cross. Example is porins. The porins are the proteins that form large pores in the outer membrane of plastids, mitochondria and some bacteria, allowing molecules up to the size of small proteins to pass through. Figure 11.1 shows an extracellular molecule bound to the transport protein. The transport protein that rotates and releases the molecule inside the cell. Example, water channels made up of 8 different types of aquaporins. Passive symport and antiport, some carrier or transport proteins allow diffusion only in 2 types of molecule move together. In a symport, both molecules cross the membrane in the same direction, but in antiport, they move in the opposite direction, that is exchange. One goes in and one comes out. It is shown in figure 11.2. Here we can see, first is uniport when a single molecule crosses the membrane through the carrier protein. Second is antiport in which A is going inside and B is coming outside. Third is symport in which A and B both are going inside. So these are the types of facilitated diffusion. Molecules move across the membrane independent of other molecules. It is called uniport. Next is third means of transport, active transport. Active transport uses energy to transport and pump molecules against a concentration gradient. Concentration gradient के against जाना मतलब low to high जाना. Active transport is carried out by specific membrane proteins. Hence, different proteins in membrane play a major role in both active as well as passive transport. Pumps are proteins that use energy to carry substances across the cell membrane. These pumps can transport substances from low concentration to high concentration. This kind of transport is known as uphill transport. Transport rate reaches the maximum when all protein transporters are being used or saturated. Like enzyme, carrier protein is very specific when it carries across the membrane. These proteins are sensitive to inhibitors that react with the protein side chains. Comparison of different transport processes. Table 11.1 gives you a comparison of all the different transport mechanisms. Protein in membrane are responsible for facilitated diffusion and active transport and hence show some common characteristics of being highly selective, liable to saturate, respond to inhibitor and under hormonal regulation, but diffusion, whether facilitated or not, take place only along a concentration gradient. Here we can see a comparison of all the different transport mechanism. Various properties are discussed like require special protein or not, highly selective, transport saturates, uphill transport requires ATP energy. Plant water relations. Water is essential for all physiological activities of plant and plays a very important role in all living organisms. It provides the medium in which most substances are dissolved. The protoplasm of cell is nothing but water in which different molecules are dissolved and suspended. A watermelon has over 92% of water. Most herbaceous plants have only 10 to 15% of its fresh weight as dry weight. Of course, distribution of water within a plant varies. Woody parts have relatively very little water, while soft parts mostly contain water. A seed may appear dry, but it still has water. Otherwise, it would not be alive and respiring. Terrestrial plants take up huge amount of water daily, but most of it is lost to the air through evaporation from the leaves, known as transpiration. A mature corn plant absorbs almost 3 liters of water in a day, while a mustard plant absorbs water equal to its own weight in about 5 hours. Because of its high demand of water, it is not surprising that water is often a limiting factor for the growth of the plant and productivity in both agricultural and natural environment. Water potential. To comprehend plant-water relation and understanding of certain standard terms is necessary. First term is water potential, denoted as psi in the subscript W. It is a concept fundamental to understanding water movement. Solute potential is psi S and pressure potential is psi P. These are the main components that determine water potential. So psi W is related to psi S and psi P. Water molecules possess kinetic energy. In liquid and gaseous form, they are in random motion, that is both rapid and constant. The greater concentration of water in a system, greater is its kinetic energy or water potential. Hence, it is obvious that pure water will have greatest water potential. If two systems containing water are in contact, random movement of water molecule will result in net movement of water from system with higher energy to one with the lower energy. Water will move from the system containing water at higher water potential to one having lower water potential. This process down a gradient is dependent on the free energy and is called diffusion of water. Water potential is denoted by the Greek symbol psi and expressed pressure units such as Pascal. By convention, the water potential of a pure water at standard temperature, which is not under any pressure, is taken 0. So water potential of pure water is 0. If some solute is dissolved in it, the solution has a fewer free water molecules and concentration of water decreases, reducing its water potential. Hence, all solutions have lower water potential than pure water. So magnitude will be negative. So solute potential psi s is always negative. The more solute molecules, lower is the psi s. For a solution at atmospheric pressure, psi w is equals to psi s. If a pressure greater than the atmospheric pressure is applied to pure water of a solution, its water potential increases. It is equivalent to pumping water from one place to another. Can you think of any system in our body where pressure is built up? Yes, circulatory system. Pressure can build up in a plant system when water enters a plant cell due to diffusion, causing a pressure built up against the cell wall. It makes the cell turgid. This increases the pressure potential. Pressure potential is usually positive, though in plants, negative potential or tension in water column in the xylem plays a major role in water transport up a stem. So pressure potential is denoted as psi p. Water potential of a cell is affected by both solute and pressure potential. The relationship between them is as follows. Psi w is equals to psi s plus psi p.